Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. I want to talk about something today, and it's something that has been bubbling to the surface. And it's similar to a topic that we cover from time to time here, and that's the DIY will sites and doing it on your own, right? Will kits and all of that. But this is something a little bit different, and I would argue a little bit more egregious, that I've been hearing rumblings of, and now it's just in my face. And that's these platforms or services that purport to draft trusts, wills, estate planning documents, but that non-attorneys would use. And I guess some attorneys, but I'd really like to know attorneys who think that this is a good service. But like financial advisors or real estate agents, where they basically can not only do financial planning or sell or buy homes, or if they're in the insurance industry, but now, well, hey, why don't I draft wills and trusts for people? And I don't know how that just intuitively doesn't sound like a really bad idea to everybody. And when it comes to financial planners or advisors in particular, I'm most shocked at this because, and I need to start talking to some of my financial planner friends because I have a hypothesis about it. But through the 20 years of doing this, that's probably the type of professional I have met the most of, financial advisors. And I can't think of any off the top of my head that didn't really think it was so important that their clients had a solid estate plan, and it was done properly and set up. And they really want to work with attorneys to make sure that they can do that as this kind of symbiotic relationship. Just like I, hear me now, everybody, would not want to provide financial advice.
Whoa.
Unless all you want to do is apply for 0% interest to do home improvements. Like if you think that is the way to live your life, perhaps I could guide you on ways to do that. But the point is that I don't dabble in that space. I don't try to give tax advice. We do what we do, and we do it really, really well. So the idea that some of these other professionals, particularly financial advisors, would say, hey, let's cut out the middleman here of an attorney, and I'll just start offering estate planning services, wills, trusts, all of that. And I need to start asking, because we still have really great relationships with a number of amazing financial advisors. And I just think they probably are like, no, I would never do this. That's terrible. Like, I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that it's not like, oh yeah, let's get on that bandwagon. Nevertheless, I am seeing some people in the financial industry, but again, it can be accountants, real estate, all of it, thinking that they can go through these services to help people get their estate plans in place. Now I ask you, and to me, this is the ultimate kind of hearkening to the name of our podcast, which is what?
One of us knows what they're talking about, and the other one is you.
Right.
Great.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but you just did it, Sarah. You
I did do it.
Took a breath, you leaned in. You could have done it, but you hesitated.
I did.
Anyway, so I'm just going to say it, that to anybody who is not a licensed estate planning and probate attorney, you have no business advising people on how to get their wills, trusts, powers of attorney, planning in place. You have none. You just don't. I don't care who you are unless you also have a law license and you have practice in this area. Because some of my favorite clients are other attorneys. Because some people be like, oh, they would be the worst clients. No, they're some of the best because they say, I know I don't know this. I do family law. I do criminal law. I do contracts. I do acquisitions and mergers. I do immigration. And they're the easiest to take through this process because they understand how this works. And I cannot even fathom anybody who thinks that they could just like make this a side hustle. Like, what the heck? Seriously.
Yeah.
So here's my question. And we did not talk about this ahead of time, which is why this is probably a horrible mistake. But to Sarah, Sam, and Cynthia, what would you think? Like, what's so bad about it? Like, what could possibly go wrong if you've got people who not only aren't licensed attorneys, but they have no experience in doing estate planning, probate, which you have to be a licensed attorney to do probate, by the way. What could be some bad outcomes?
The language in the documents could be for like a different state.
Like, okay, that was a good one, Sam. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
One of my favorites is cheap can get real expensive real fast. So if they're
Sure.
if you're trying to save money and you're just saying, oh, well, they'll do it, they know X, Y, and Z, but let's say they have correct state language, but they don't use a specific word like independent for something, and then it throws everything off whack where you're dependent on the court. Make decisions.
Sarah, do you have any contributions?
No.
You know?
Come on. What do you think could go wrong if you had somebody who didn't know what they were doing or didn't do it very much or ever doing this major planning for you?
I feel like so much could go wrong. But what if you're somebody can't be your what am I trying to say? Like you have them designated as your power of attorney and they aren't allowed to, make decisions or whatever because the
Because they're
hospital's
5 years old?
yeah.
Yeah,
Or the
like naming
hospital
somebody you
denies
think
them
We
or
do.
whatever.
We do have that. We do have that where people want to name their minor children to make decisions. Yeah. It's a lot of the same problems that we see with DIY stuff, because essentially that's what you're doing. The problem with DIY is not that people are morons. I mean, some of them are, but there are also attorneys that are morons. So it's not that. The problem with DIY is these are people who are not licensed or experienced in the legal documents and planning that they are putting together to know what to do and what not to do. And so that's across the board. Like all the same problems can still occur. The true story, I was sitting talking to a financial planner, and this was a while ago. This is not one that we do business with, by the way. But sometimes when you meet with them and you're trying to establish a relationship, the ones that try to solicit you at the end drive me nuts. They're like, oh, well, do you have any financial planning? What are you doing? And I'm just like, you know what? You wanted to meet me under the pretext of having a resource for your clients. And now you're basically soliciting me for your business. And so you all have only seen the jaded Lori. I was really nice first part of my practice, but I was meeting with a guy and the jadedness set in. And once again, at the end, what did he do? He hit me up for financial planning. And so I said, I'm good, but hey, do you have a will? And he's like, well, yeah, I actually have one from the internet. I'm like, oh, really? Like from where? And so I started going through this, and it was from one of these sites that that we know. And then I'm like, oh, how is it signed? And he said, oh, well, it's notarized. I'm like, you mean it's not witnessed? And he's like, no, no. So just like all the problems that we see with a lot of the DIY stuff is that his will that he has won't even work. It's not even valid. Did he know that? Was that like brand new information? It was. Did he have young kids? He did. And of course, I never heard from him or saw him again because I think he was embarrassed. But that's the point. And so it's not only that, but some of the things that we see is one of my favorite examples. I was going to say favorite cases. One of my favorite cases was really terrible. But one of my favorite examples is someone who lost their homestead exemption. And it was a simple thing, really, where if you're creating a living trust and then to avoid probate court, then you deed your home, some type of deed. This isn't advice. This isn't a one size fits all. But in this case, deeded home to your trust. And amazingly, they were able to get everything signed correctly and achieve this. But unfortunately, they did it correctly. In this case, the trust actually had the language in it that helped preserve the homestead, but the deed did not. And this is easy. Like, this is a no-brainer for us. Like, for me, and then I've trained you all to know to put this stuff in there. But they lost their homestead exemption. And if you're in Texas, the homestead exemption is a huge thing, especially if you've got additional homestead exemptions like over 65 homestead exemptions. So, that was a couple of years before they decided to talk to an attorney about it, and we fixed it. But does a financial advisor or a CPA or a real estate agent or insurance professional know what language preserves the homestead exemption?
No.
I'm gonna guess no.
I'd be willing to bet,
no.
and this isn't an insult to us. It's a commentary on how opaque the language is. I'd be willing to bet that most everybody in Burch Law doesn't actually know which clause is really preserving the homestead exemption, with the exception of the attorneys. I would guess that the case managers don't even know.
Yeah, maybe Jordan, but no.
Because it's just called right to use personal or right to use residence. But that's what it's getting at. It's preserving the homestead exemption.
Yeah, and I doubt very few people actually know like the clause in the deeds that has like helps retain the taxes and such.
So how are they going to know how to do that? I have so many questions, but I also don't want to talk to any of them that would have the audacity to think that they should be doing this. And so what's the only motivation for someone who's a non-estate planning attorney or a non-attorney to try and sign up with one of these services where they can also provide their clients with estate plans? What would be their motivation?
I feel there's two routes here. The
Well,
first
Sarah
one,
just did gestures. Do you want to
Oh, okay, Sarah, do you wanna
answer,
go?
Sarah?
Money.
Truly, like I could see them deluding themselves by saying, oh, well, it's just more efficient because we don't have to get someone else involved. But I think those are just lies that they tell themselves to justify, ooh, I can start making a few $1,000s more per client.
Yeah.
Where were you going to go with it, Cynthia? Was that?
Yeah, it was
that
gonna
it?
be just pretty much that, and a very small percentage think that they're actually helping, but misguided, you know?
Yeah, I
But no,
think
don't
you've
do
got to
it.
be so listen to me, and I'm directing this to any non-attorney, but unfortunately I'm seeing more financial advisors doing this. You have no business advising, guiding, and drafting estate planning documents for your clients. And in fact, it is arguably unauthorized practice of law. It's kind of a slippery slope, but it could happen because some of these DIY sites, and I actually looked this up recently, they've been sued in many states. It's not a lot of it has been necessarily decided on because they've settled out of court. And you can try, like, I don't live in the gray. I'm a very black and white person, particularly when it comes to what is ethically, legally, and morally right. But if you like to live in the gray, that's fine, I guess, for you. But you are playing with people's lives. You are playing with things that you can't fix when you find out that they're wrong. That's the biggest issue when it comes to wills and trusts being done incorrectly. There's no fixing it, because when you find out it was done incorrectly, it's when you're reviewing it when the person died. And how dare you have the audacity to play with these families' lives that way? Suck it up, make good relationships. There's great attorneys out there, and go through the work and let them make the money on actually producing a result that is going to help people. So just stop. Just stop. But since you're not going to stop, let's talk about one particular site that I've seen some financial advisors promote. Oh, by the way, bankers are not exempt from this, because we actually have a team member in our office who was outraged. I'm telling you, outraged, because she got an email from her bank, and it's a big one. It's a big name bank, who was saying they were partnering with one of these online DIY sites. And I know a fair amount of estate planning and probate attorneys. I don't know any of them that would ever try to partner with one of these, which is how some of them try and circumvent this unauthorized practice of law. But just before we completely move on from that thought, where it's like, oh, but you can talk to a real lawyer and everything. We had one of those lawyers in our firm. We had a lawyer in our firm who was one of the websites attorney experts that you would call and get advice from. And she told us that she had learned so much just within the few months of working with us, and she really didn't have any idea what she was telling people.
That's scary.
That is scary. It is. But they're like, oh, you got a law degree. Just read the code and tell them what you want. And I think that's the other thing. You know, if you go to our checklist on our website of how to find a good, if not great, estate planning firm, one of them is that you should look for a firm that also handles probate, which, by the way, nobody but a licensed attorney in Texas can do probate. So you know the answer is none of them can fulfill this requirement. If you don't handle probate, which is the legal court process when somebody passes away, and yes, a will does go through probate. Hopefully your trust doesn't. But again, if you're not getting the advice on how to properly set up your trust, you might just be right back in probate. Do non-estate planning attorneys know how to advise you on these things? I don't know how they would, because I see many attorneys that don't even do it correctly. But if they don't see how these documents get interpreted by courts, then they have no business doing the drafting, because then they truly don't know what they're doing. I would put some attorneys in that category. If you've got attorneys that are just doing the estate planning piece, just doing wills and trusts, but they don't handle the court process of it, they really have no business doing it, because we've changed how we draft things based on trends and changes on how we see courts interpreting things. It's why now we just do a ton of AKAs, because now it didn't used to be this way, but apparently it is a big mental leap to assume that Lori L. Burch is the same as Lori Louise Burch. So if I've got my home titled as Lori Louise Burch, but my bank account is Lori L. Burch, you better make sure that you've got AKAs in your documents so that you don't run into any issues. Did I see this 10 years ago? No, I did not see this happening 10 years ago, but it's happening now. And the only way we know that is because we've seen how courts have started to change and interpret these very issues.
Or God forbid, somebody gets married and changes their name from what it is listed as in the will, because no, that's too far of a leap as well and will cause major delays. Like, it's really basic, everyday things that are really causing a lot of problems. Like,
Yeah.
very basic things.
So we've stumbled upon one of these services lately that we've seen some financial advisors promote. And we're not here to unfairly disparage anybody. We just thought we would do a review in the podcast of this one platform. It's called Estate Planning Platform. That markets itself to financial advisors, attorneys. Again, attorneys, you're not doing this, are you? Insurance brokers, accountants, HR, and employers. Oh, great. And real estate agents about how they can start selling estate plans. Do we want to say the name of this site? Do we want to draw attention to it? No, we're not going to say it.
Yeah.
But we've looked at it. What are some takeaways that you guys see from this?
The first thing on here, the start selling estate plans today, really makes me feel like it's an MLM. It really makes me like, it gives me that like, oh no, what are you doing? Why would you do this? So that's already off to not a great start. But also just thousands of businesses nationwide, and it has everything under the sun. And it's like, no. Remember whenever people talk about like cure-alls cure nothing? And like you are working with and for so many places that this is just like, oh no, fraught with danger.
I don't know how I feel about this statement on About Us. Let's make death better.
Yeah. Death is hard.
Like,
Our mission is to make it better.
And you can't
That's-
really make it
I need more
bitter.
information, thank you.
What? Let's make death better? Like, is that really? This is clearly people who have no experience doing this kind of planning or work, because it's, or maybe they've never had a loved one pass away. Like, it's just, there's nothing that's going to, like, this is insulting, frankly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and talking about like compliant documents in all 50 states, there's a little graphic that's showing somebody like go through the options of no, do not include a spendthrift provision. Yes, include a special needs trust. Yes, do a joint trust.
Oh my gosh, special needs, like,
There's
it
little
is,
blurbs in
we
here
won't even
that
do full,
no.
there's types of special needs trusts that we won't even do, because this is what you're doing. Is it mechanically easy to possibly draft the legal structure? Potentially, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. If you, whoever you put in as a trustee, if they do it wrong, they can disqualify somebody who has special needs from the aid that they're receiving.
Yeah.
Dang.
And like there's so much of this that no one has any business advising on unless you are an attorney and you are meeting with these people. They are explaining to you this is our life situation. This is our structure of family, pod, whatever, and you are actively giving them advice to them. A lot of this is big no.
If you scroll down to the bottom, it says, while Redacted strives to ensure that its automated services are complete, they are meant purely as self-help forms.
Self-help forms. I mean, that's what this is then, right? This company is not a law. Listen to this. It is not a law firm. Does not provide legal advice. That's the what you said before. The self purely is self-help.
Yeah.
The materials and services are not substitutes for the advice of an attorney. Then what the hell is it? Like, why are you doing what service are you providing with people?
Self-help.
Yeah, because they're boasting to start selling estate plans in less than a week, average $1,200 per plan sold. And it's like, but you're telling us here, like, oh, it actually costs maybe $150 to produce it, but you can upcharge. Like, there's things on here talking about how you can set the custom fees to what you want them to be for, like,
Right.
for
I mean,
client,
so that
custom, like, no.
So this company charges the professional like a startup fee, and then I guess whatever fees they charge. But then the professional can turn around and sell it. So it's not even necessarily a money saving mechanism for the client, because
No.
the financial, I mean, unless they're just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, which, how much do you value a free trust in estate plan?
Yeah, just looking at a lot of this, it's very. I don't think that people understand how predatory and deceptive a lot of this is, and how it's really scary.
So it's talking about funding. Oh, wait, here's some funding of a trust. But how much, I don't know how much guidance they really give you. Because do you want a POD, a pay on death? Do you want to do a joint trust? Do you want to do a transfer of death deed, a ladybird deed, or do you want to do a general warranty deed? If you do a general warranty deed, do you have the homestead protections in there? Or what if the appraisal district records it wrong? Do you know we had someone record a deed to a trust, a living trust, as a life estate? Would a financial advisor know how to correct that situation? I'm curious.
We've had people lose homestead exemptions, other special exemptions that they need for disability, so many things. And this is all just, none of this is like defining it appropriately or to you. It's just throwing out a lot of terms, and it's trying to define them in the most understandable way, but really, there's no context. I can understand a word without context.
Okay.
Dictionary definition.
No lie. I don't know if this is me or not, but I'm clicking this button that says get started today, and it's giving me a 404. The page you're looking for isn't there.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I've tried to figure out how to get back away from it.
The it's the URL is
Old home?
/old home. So they,
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You
but I can create an
guys.
account for free and upgrade at any time. Okay, well, I know what I'm doing later.
do they have a newsletter? I kind of want to sign up.
There's actually a lot of 404 page not
Yeah.
found. Wills made easy. Is it?
They have a newsletter.
Are you getting on the
you found it. Okay,
Sarah's
so I'm trying
like,
to find.
don't tempt me with a good time. Oh my gosh. 43%. Many families report conflict due to poor planning and communication. How about 100% of the people that use these services?
What I don't get is
Wow.
why they have like the different business ones you can do, because it's just the same for every single page. It's just saying to sell estate planning.
Yeah,
It's literally all
they have a contact us, but it just opens like a new Outlook window for me to send an email. There's not really.
Oh, $1,200 average profit per estate plan sold for current professional customers. 3 days, average time to complete onboarding for a new white label account. So it takes them it took me 3 years of law school, passing a bar exam, a 3-day bar exam, by the way. Well, 2.5 days. Thank you, Texas. And then for the last 20 years, 15 hours of the continuing legal education every year. But hey, you guys, we can onboard you in 3 days.
I found one of the
Wow.
co-founders on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Surprisingly, he's not an attorney. Never
No.
went to law
No.
school.
Hold on.
No.
I need to read you just a sentence. It's real good. Death gets a bad rap. Fighting for it is morbid. Talking about it is taboo. Blank aims to give it a good rebrand. I'm sorry, you're trying to rebrand death?
Rebrand
Okay.
death.
Rebrand death. Listen, I don't know that this is the way to go.
Does death have a brand?
Well, it depends on which death you're talking about.
They also have a
Do
blog,
you remember
Sarah.
the TV show
Oh.
Adventures of Grim and Mandy? That's a brand.
They even have stuff about grant or retain uni trusts.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's doing estate tax planning.
I'm looking at a lot of this and I'm like, there's attorneys who practice certain parts of estate planning who don't use some of these things because they don't focus on it. They don't specialize in it. And this is one of those things that I feel like they're trying to make it more one size fits all and even more, oh, it's super easy and broad when it's not though. This is something even whenever I used to work for a family law attorney, there are some family law attorneys that are so much more skilled at high net worth clients because they're better able to decipher through all of the assets and properly divide them and properly award things where they need to go. They're good at making sure that like it all goes together. There's some attorneys that are much better at SAPSers, suits affecting parent-child relationships, because they know how to navigate that better with courts, with if there's any need of like home studies or any facilitation like that. Estate planning is the same. There's different niche parts about estate planning, and not everyone needs these big fancy titled trusts. But
No.
everybody needs something, and you can't just go to a website and figure it out.
Question, Sarah, anywhere on our website does it say that we're not a law firm and we don't provide legal advice?
No, it does not.
Is there anywhere on our website that says that our services are not substitutes for the advice of an attorney?
No.
Because our services are literally the advice of an attorney. You know what else is not, what's getting missed here by is that it's not establishing an attorney-client relationship. Do you know that there are not the same ethical standards when it comes to these other professionals, financial advisors, realtors, all that? They don't have confidentiality rules. They don't have attorney-client privilege. They don't have an ethical obligation to advise you properly, so that if they don't advise you properly, then they can be held liable by you. There's no getting in trouble for this. So if they do something incorrectly, if they lose your homestead exemption, or if they tell everybody in town that you've had 3 women that you've knocked up and have 5 different kids, like they could share all of that you're excluding your estranged father. Like all of the things that people tell you in private that we have to guard and keep secret. How many times do we get family members who call us, family members of our clients who call us and want to talk to us about something? And we know that that's not a family member that our client gave us permission to talk to. Can we talk to them?
No.
Could these people talk to them?
I don't see what's stopping them.
Why not? Yeah, it's crazy.
And another piece that people don't realize with us or any law firm that you go to, the second that you're having a conversation, we have a duty to have confidentiality. We, like, at that point is whenever, whatever you tell us, that is in between you, the person who spoke like to the firm, and the firm, and we don't divulge it. That is a really big thing that happens whenever people call us. And it's
Sam's
like, no,
got some.
this is a secure place. Oh gosh.
I'm reading the terms of service.
Oh no.
Oh,
While efforts are made to keep the documents and other materials current and up to date, they are not legal advice and are not guaranteed to be correct, complete, or up to date.
Wait, where's the link for this?
Wow.
Here, let's
Just send me the link to the site, please. Thank you.
What if we put that we're not guaranteed to be correct on our website?
Yeah. Well, we're going to try, though.
They also
we have
mentioned
concepts of protecting your documents.
They also mentioned that, like the third-party platform providers and redacted are protected by their privacy policy, but not by attorney-client privilege. They mention that
Look,
multiple times.
We've got a privacy policy. I wouldn't say that we have any sort of like ethical bounds that could get us like licensed or barred to do business in the state, like attorney-client privilege, but we have a policy.
Yeah.
Also, I love that there's one for professional users
Mhm.
and all customer and clients. There's different ones.
The services provided by third-party platform providers and redacted are neither legal advice nor the practice of law, and the documents and materials are not customized to your particular needs.
So look, this isn't unauthorized practice of law because we're not even practicing law, okay?
Yeah, we
Wow.
provide online tools and materials to assist customers, clients, and users with the preparation, execution, and storage of their own legal documents and related information. This is right after this is not a law firm and does not provide any legal advice.
They also say that they don't provide any financial advice or tax advice, and if there's any third party that's on their website that gives you like an inaccurate or invalid financial insight, that they're not responsible for it.
Disclaimers. Love it.
That's wild.
I didn't realize. Now you've really. This is a treasure trove. The terms of service. Like we could
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
go
the terms
line
of
by
service are
line.
my
We
favorite parts.
got to wrap this up. But holy schmoly! Why are there so many different fonts or size of
You know what?
fonts?
Hold up.
You want to go first, or you want me?
I don't know what section you're on.
I'm under user submitted content.
Yes, I'm under user submitted content.
Redacted does not own any user submitted content. You shall have the sole responsibility for the accuracy, quality, integrity, legality, reliability, and appropriateness of all data that you submit.
You're
You're your own
responsible for the
lawyer.
legality of this.
Furthermore, customers, client/end users are fully liable if such user submitted content is infringing upon third party rights, violates any laws, regulations, or violates any third party rights. So, man,
Ah,
That's crazy.
I just want to add this one.
they assume no
No
responsibility or
refunds.
liability.
they also said that they don't accept unsolicited suggestions and or ideas.
Oh, can we wait a minute? Can
Number
we add
9.
that to our terms of service?
Actually,
Can we
yeah.
add that to our
Yeah.
agreement? I actually like that. Say that again, Sam.
Okay, I'm just going to say this whole thing because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We do not accept unsolicited suggestions and or ideas. All inquiries, feedback, suggestions, ideas, criticism, or other information that you provide to us concerning the services will be treated as non-proprietary and non-confidential. By transmitting or posting any submission, you hereby grant us full ownership of the submission as if we had created, developed, and posted the submission for its own purposes, with no
What?
obligation to pay you royalties or any other compensation. That's crazy.
I
Okay,
do kind of
guys.
feel part of that, though.
But that's
it's
the
just
thing, though.
wild.
If you come to Burch Law, you're going to get something customized for you by licensed, experienced attorneys. And you won't be subject to a lot of liability. Like, we're not just like, whoop. This is great.
You guys, how?
Ooh.
All right, I had no, we need to do more research before we do this because I really just thought I would go to a couple pages and talk about this. We're probably going to do some more reviews of just pure DIY ones, and let's make sure that we take time to look at the terms of service,
Yeah.
And other things, because this one's blowing my mind, and I know that we're not even able to scratch the surface on a lot of this stuff. Wow. But in the interest of time, I think we've made our point. I hope, at least to each other. But
At least to each other.
but You need to isolate that one clip, Sarah, where it's like, but I
Yeah.
think we made our point, at least to each other. That sums up a lot of this podcast. And I don't mean this particular episode, I mean the whole thing. But I really thought it would be entertaining for us to go through, for Sam and Sarah, to also talk about other businesses,
Oh, I
other
forgot
things
about
that
that.
people do that they have no business doing. Do we want to take time to do this? Are we going to do
Absolutely.
rapid fire?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do rapid fire.
Okay. Do you know who's going to start first?
Yes.
We do.
Okay, tee it up though. I just introduced it, but again, for purposes of outtakes, introduce this and then go.
All right, so here's a list of some things people do that they have no business doing whatsoever. Number 1, being president.
Number 2, trying to sell me a
Sam, you got to allow for things to hit.
You said rapid fire.
But that's still, there's still sentences at the end. I mean, there's still periods at the end of sentences, all right? Okay, next.
Okay. Number 2, trying to sell me a phone or electricity plan in Walmart at 7 p.m. at night on a weekday.
Yeah, that's fair.
Please leave me alone.
See, I'm sad that I can no longer use the excuse, oh, my mom pays for that.
Yeah.
Because they
You
leave you
could.
alone so
I
quickly.
mean, you still could and just see what happens.
Yeah, but I seem sad as a 30-something-year-old that my mom still pays for everything.
All right,
Anyway.
number 3, giving legal advice when you don't have a law degree.
I think we nailed that.
Yep.
Number 4, selling extended car warranties.
Number 5, oh boy, getting into a relationship with the inmate in prison who's there for crimes we cannot say that you were pen paling with, and then you go to the prison and get married, and surprise, you're pregnant.
Your tone was great.
I'm just going
I
to
have a
let
fun
that one
story
go.
about that.
yeah, I would.
I have a fun story.
And then lastly, things people do that they don't have any business doing. Specific religious groups that we will not name, to be nice, coming to my door on a very rare for me work from home day, and then getting me personally lectured by my boss who is here because I opened the door to said religious groups because I felt bad that they were going door to door in freezing temperatures, even though I am not religious and I live alone by myself as a woman.
It's all fair. That's pretty accurate.
Soon a big burly roommate's gonna move in with Sam, so she will no longer be living alone.
Correct.
As a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
For
Are
all
you-
listeners.
For all
You're getting
listeners,
a
she does not
roommate?
live alone anymore.
Oh, she does not live alone. She
I technically don't if you want to be.
She met someone who was selling an electricity plan in Walmart, who also was in the market for a roommate.
Wanting to be there.
Yeah, they. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He left his,
Um,
or they, I don't want to assume anything, Sam. He left his previous significant other because they were quitting their job to become a DJ, and he wasn't supportive. And on this podcast, we've said that's okay.
That's right.
All right. Well, I think we proved our point that there's lots of people out there that have no business doing what they're doing. Whether that applies to hosting a podcast or not, we will let our fans decide. Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.